Hey everyone, welcome to this video about the history of Indonesia. Indonesia is a huge country made up of thousands of islands, and it has a really interesting past. Let's dive in. Indonesia's story goes back a super long time. We're talking thousands of years to a time when people were just starting to make tools. Archaeologists have found these ancient tools on the island of Java. Fast forward to the 4th century, and there were already powerful kingdoms popping up, influenced by India and religions like Hinduism and Buddhism. One of the biggest and strongest of these kingdoms was the Srivijaya Empire. They controlled a lot of Sumatra and the area around Malaysia from the 7th to the 13th century. They were really important for trade and were known for their Buddhist teachings. Another big kingdom was the Majapahit Empire, which lasted from the 13th to the 16th century. They were famous for their art, culture, and government, and they ruled over a large part of what we now know as Indonesia. Around the 13th century, Islam started to spread throughout Indonesia. It came through traders from India, Arabia, and Persia. By the 1600s, most of the islands had become Muslim. Then things changed again when Europeans showed up. The Portuguese were the first to arrive in the early 1500s, wanting to control the spice trade. But it was the Dutch who ended up taking over. The Dutch East India Company, or VOC, was formed in 1602. This started over 300 years of Dutch rule. The Dutch built a huge trading empire, using Indonesia's resources and people for their own gain. Throughout the 1800s, Indonesians fought against the Dutch. Local rulers and communities resisted, and in the early 1900s, a big movement for independence began. Leaders like Sukarno and Muhammad Hatta organized people to fight for freedom. In 1928, young Indonesians made the Youth Pledge, promising to unite all the islands as one nation. This was a big symbol of their dream of independence. World War II changed everything. Japan invaded Indonesia in 1942 and stayed until 1945, kicking out the Dutch. During this time, Indonesians got a taste of self-rule and they wanted independence even more. Right after Japan lost the war on August 17, 1945, Sukarno and Muhammad Hatta declared Indonesia's independence. But the Dutch didn't want to give up, and it took 4 years of fighting and talking before they finally recognized Indonesia's freedom in 1949. After independence, Indonesia had some tough times. There were political problems, money troubles, and some leaders who weren't very nice. Sukarno, the first president, led the country at the beginning, but later Suharto took over and ruled for a very long time. In the 1990s, people got tired of Suharto, especially after the Asian financial crisis. There were big protests and Suharto finally stepped down. Indonesia then started to become more democratic. Today, Indonesia is a major democracy with a fast-growing economy, a cool culture, and lots of different kinds of people. From ancient kingdoms to being ruled by others and finally to freedom and democracy, Indonesia's story is about strength, unity, and moving forward. Indonesia shows how people can be united even though they are different. With hundreds of languages and ethnic groups, Indonesia is a country that's proud of its past and excited about the future.